Hey YouTube, it's Pure Station here. Today's date is December 4th, 2016, and I thought I would give my viewers a update on how my orthodontic treatment is coming along. I'm going to call this update vlog 5 and 6 because since May 2016, about 6 months ago, I've actually had two other orthodontic visits. And of course, I haven't bothered posting anything because, well, life is just too busy. So I'm gonna apologize in advance for this video because I'm really tired. It's late and I am totally getting over this nasty cold and I'm all jacked up on cold medication. So just a quick recap on video vlogs 3 and 4 that I posted last May. Basically, in a nutshell, I had a whole bunch of rubber bands prescribed and then I had to wear them 24/7. You guys may remember, and if you don't, go ahead and watch a video. I had a pair of elastics on the sides to pull my lower jaw back, and then I had these crazy, horrid, insanely thick and super strong front elastics that I wore from here to here, here to here to close my open bite. And then I had this funky button thing installed in the inside of my upper arch, where it allowed me to hook an elastic from the top, towards, I believe it was either, geez, I don't remember the config. Oh, it went from the top and then down to the racket here on the front to sort of align my bizarre crossbite that had formed over the years. And so I had 5 rubber bands in my mouth, which was not fun to deal with, especially when you go into work in a corporate environment where you spend your entire day communicating with a variety of people. The other thing I had mentioned in my previous vlog as well is that I discovered I had a tongue placement problem where a myofacial specialist that I was referred to by my orthodontist had pointed out that my tongue's resting position isn't where it's supposed to be. So most people, when they sit, their tongues sit and rest on the roof of their mouth, where the tip of the tongue is just slightly behind I guess, on the soft palate area of the mouth, which my tongue wasn't doing. And so, of course, when I went to see the specialist, they said, whoa, your tongue kind of sits like this, and it kind of hangs at the front, behind my front lower teeth, which is not ideal because your tongue is quite a strong muscle that pushes on the back of my teeth and then subsequently on my jaw, which then applies like that forward pressure. Now, that's obviously being exaggerated, but over many, many years, that tiny bit of force can eventually add up into some significant movements, no different than how braces are being used now to bring everything back into the proper positioning. So, anyways, I had that discovery, and of course, I've been working very diligently on trying to correct that tongue placement issue. Admittedly, not as successful as I thought it would be. So, since May, 2 different appointments. After I posted that video, I went and actually saw a family member who is in fact actually a dentist. Is actually my brother's in-laws who is a dentist, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, I go, my orthodontist doesn't really want to deal with any appliances on the whole tongue placement issue, and the myofacial specialist obviously can't do any sort of appliance building for me. So, I said, what can I do to deal with this, slight tongue positioning thrust issue that I have? And he goes, well, that's easy. We'll install some spikes behind your lower teeth such that your tongue just doesn't feel natural sitting there. And so what does he do? He decided to give me some fangs on the back of my teeth. And you can kind of see this right there. And so they're not sharp. And there's only 2 when there actually should be 4. And basically, the idea here is the minute my tongue gets lazy, so when I start resting and then my tongue starts to sit, I feel those nubs on my tongue, and then I realize that they need to go back. A tongue's got to go back to the roof of my mouth. And so, as far as efficacy is concerned, I think it's maybe only 50% successful because it reminds me that my tongue's there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that my tongue doesn't like playing with those little fangs. And so, it's hit and miss. My orthodontist was kind of surprised that I requested my brother my brother's brother-in-law, to do something like that. But it was more of a courtesy thing. He did it for me, because I'm kind of desperate, because I don't want to go through like orthodontic treatment again. I can only imagine it 10 years from now, that I'm almost 50, that I have to get braces for the fourth time, which I don't think any sane person would want to do. And so that happened around the spring. I think it was like March or June. No, May, June, maybe even after when I posted that video vlog, that those little fangs got put in. And of course, I was a good patient. I wore my rubber bands through the summer. I went to work every single day. I wore them on the weekends. I wore them when I played with the kids, and I wore them at family functions, and I probably looked kind of a bit like a freak. But again, I don't care what people think, so it doesn't matter, because treatment is for me and not for anyone else. And so fast forward to my next orthodontist appointment. It was, I believe, August, September, where my orthodontist actually removed a tiny bit of hardware, but then did some stuff to my teeth and then added even more hardware than I have, than what I had. And so at that appointment, they do the usual wire changes. They get thicker, round wires become square wires, and I wish I could show you, but I can't right now. But basically, I had that little button on the inside of my upper arch that hooked an elastic to the front of the lower arch to fix a crossbite. So that button got removed. And then I was told to just continue wearing the four elastics on the sides and in the front of my teeth. But before he did that and sent me along my merry way, he kind of looked at my lower jaw and realized, we could shrink your lower jaw just a tiny bit more, since I don't want to do jaw surgery, and by basically using a tool, like a rotary tool. It's a diamond disc blade on the end of a rotary shaft tool, kind of like a Dremel for you tool guys out there. And he decided that it would be a good idea to shave off a tiny bit of bone from between my front teeth, right here, here, and here. There's like something like 3 or 4 spots on the very front teeth, and you guys can actually see it in my previous video called Vlogs 3 and 4, where you can see that the roots of my front teeth had bigger gaps previously. And I thought, what? Like, I've got these huge gaps already at my roots of my teeth, and you want to make even more gaps? And the idea was that I needed to shrink a tiny bit of space between each tooth, such that the sum of those small spaces would add up to about a millimeter of spacing, or something along those lines. And so I thought, okay, well, he knows best. And I said that, by shaving my teeth, does it mean that I'm going to weaken my enamel or thin it out such that I'm more prone to tooth decay? Will it make my lower teeth look stumpy, like, these vertical stumps, because it's not very aesthetically pleasing once the braces come off? And he assured me that it wouldn't. And he also told me that it wouldn't hurt. So, of course, I said, okay, fine, do what you need to do. And he was grinding away, and it didn't use any painkillers or freeze, because it didn't hurt. And so he was shaving away, and it smelled like burnt bone. And then once he was done, he kind of showed me the mirror, and of course I didn't have the wire or anything in place, and you could see these tiny little hairline gaps now between my teeth. And I thought, whoa, heaven forbid, like, that looks horrid. But he says, of course, when you have braces, and anyone that has braces, whether you shave your teeth or not, will have to wear elastics to close all the gaps between your teeth. And so that appointment in August, September was exactly that, was to create gaps in my teeth, take off that button, and then install what we call a chain elastic. And a chain elastic, if you can imagine it, is like a bunch of O's. Just imagine a bunch of O's all tied together very tightly, these tiny little O's. And that's what they call a chain elastic, that hooks on from the back brackets way back in there, and they wrap around each bracket, and they use this thing that looks like a pair of pliers to stretch it out. And so I had red ones originally so that you guys could see it easier, but then I broke them, and then so I need to get them replaced, and I, for some reason, decided to get purple ones. But you can kind of see it here under this ceramic bracket and under the wire. It's like that purple line. It goes around each one on the top and on the bottom. And then so, of course, now it's December, and I actually have another appointment tomorrow to change a wire and see what other goodies I get. But you can see here that my bite has really improved from when I first started treatment last December, right? So I had a slight open bite. where my teeth didn't quite come together, and now my teeth are even straighter than what they were already, and my bite from a side profile is now more towards a ideal class 1. So things are working, things are going well. I still have to wear those hideous rubber bands, and so that was the other bit of hardware they installed. So after that chain elastic, which by the way hurt way more than actually getting braces the first time last December, because the chain elastic pulls so tight. Like when they put it in, you can actually feel your teeth shifting the moment they like loop it around each tooth. So if you do get them, make sure you take some Advil or Tylenol before that appointment. So the other issue I had was when I was using these vertical elastics, right? Remember Deb, the 6-ounce behemoths? They kept popping off these ceramic brackets because there's no physical hook on the top ceramic ones, and then these bottom ones had this tiny little, like, barely a bit of a metal nub to actually allow a gigantic thick fatty elastic to go onto it. So how the heck do you expect me to not swallow these things or have them pop out? It got to a point where I was actually so frustrated that the front elastics wouldn't stay on properly that I actually stopped wearing them for a little bit. So I told my orthodontist that on my excuse me orthodontist, and then so he decided that he would install some hooks for me, convenience hooks I'll call them, loops and I guess studs. This one here goes through the bracket, or it wraps around. It's basically they took a piece of wire, wrapped it around, twisted it, and then made this little eyelet. You see that? Right there. I'll show you in a second. I put these elastics on. And then for the bottom one, the dental assistant clipped on these studs. You see that? So he poured hook onto that racket, but because it kept popping off, it became a nuisance. So they did it for each side on the front, and so that made a big difference. And of course, my compliance to wearing them was good again. Not that I enjoyed wearing them, but at least they didn't pop out at me at the office, which was super embarrassing when I had that happen to me in a meeting. It popped out of my mouth. I was speaking, so I had no choice but to swallow the elastic. Like, yeah. Anyway, so so I have another appointment tomorrow. I don't know what to expect, other than they're gonna change my wire. Will I get another chain elastic? I don't know. So that's pretty much it. Oh, right. One more thing. When you do get a chain elastic, I just want to let everyone know that for some reason, if you thought food stuck in your braces before one of those chain elastics went in and thought it was bad, I will tell you right now, it's at least 4 times worth with chain elastics. It's because if you look, all the tiny little gaps and stuff, like you can kind of see it. Like, I don't know, everything sticks in my mouth. Like, no matter what I eat, it could be nuts, it could be cereal, it could be rice, it could be vegetables. Like, it's everywhere. You could rinse your mouth for 5 solid minutes and everything is still stuck there. In fact, even brushing your teeth won't clean it out right. So you have to use this thing called like a Salka brush, or those really fine brushes to get underneath the arch wire just to clean everything, because oh man, it was ridiculous. So something to be warned about if you do get prescribed those. So anyways, I guess I'll end my video here by showing you sort of what the elastic configuration looks like now. All right, people have asked, so I thought I may as well just do it because I'm ready for bed. So here's the side elastics, right, which we'll call Bill, right, these 4-ounce ones. They basically go on right here, and I've become a master at putting these on by hand. And they hook on to, you can see this, like that, okay? And then hook on this side, like so. And then the next ones that go in the front are Debbie. So this is what my elastic configuration looks like after everything's been put in. And so not much has really changed other than the fact that the diagonal elastic has been removed with the addition of 2 additional chain elastics, so I've got a total of 6 rubber bands in my mouth at any given time, as well as the inclusion of these hunky little tongue positioning fangs to keep my tongue honest. So that's all I've got for this particular update. If you guys have any questions, ask them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. If you like my videos, consider giving me a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to my channel to get the latest in my update vlogs. Thanks for watching.